Hello and welcome to the next season of Can It Take a K26, the show where I take a series of Nerf blasters and try to see if it can take a K26 spring. In the previous season, I covered all of the single-shot pistols that I had available, as well as all of the grip-primed blasters. This season, we'll be covering revolvers, and we'll be starting with several of the blasters that have been requested in the comments. I am also testing out a new microphone. There were still complaints about the audio being bad, but now that I think about it, they were on older videos from before I'd gotten my previous mic. But hopefully this one will in fact improve the audio quality. Let me know in the comments below if it's better, worse, exactly the same, if you don't care. Our first contestant is, of course, the Maverick Red Six. So named, of course, because it is a revolver that holds 6 darts. The Maverick was originally released in 2005 as part of the N-Strike series. It features a reverse plunger tube, and thus I don't have terribly high hopes for it, and a section of tack rail. The Maverick is, of course, one of the earliest blasters that many of us probably had. I carried a Maverick as a secondary sidearm in my first HVZ. Like many people, I attached it to a lanyard so that I could prime it one-handed. I did not actually do the legendary penny upgrade that I still hear about people doing because it does in fact work. Excellent blaster. The primary complaint about it is, of course, that it jams quite often, this being, I found, a result of the fact that the cylinder rotates as you fire the blaster, and if it doesn't rotate fully, then things go sideways. But the real question is, of course, can it take a K26? Well, let us find out. Alright, we are in. The Maverick is a remarkably simple blaster. I have, of course, all manner of doubts that this flimsy trigger catch will be able to support a K26. I doubt I can even get one in here, but it is a very short spring, so it's not going to be as big a K26 as in many of the other blasters, so we're going to go ahead and give it a try just to see what happens. Maybe we'll finally have a blaster explode like I'm sure many of you have been hoping to see. Yeah, it looks like it's a matter of compression, so... Tragically, no K26 for the Maverick. There probably isn't a whole lot of upgrades you can do, which is why people always did the penny mod. Alright, well, that was a no for the K26 in the Maverick, but a yes to a spring upgrade. I've brought the draw weight up to about 7 kilograms, up from the stock 4.5, so it's a little bit of an increase with the air restrictors out and maybe brass barrels. It could be considerably better. It will be available on my Etsy page, but without the brass barrels, because that is... brassing 6 barrels is going to be a little bit more prohibitive, so if you're interested in a brass-barreled spring upgraded Maverick, go ahead and contact me. Otherwise, it'll be up there just for the spring mod. So, on to the next contestant. Our next contestant is the Spectre Rev Five, so named, of course, because it's a revolver that holds 5 darts. This was the replacement to the Maverick, more or less. They were both still being released at the same time, as far as I'm aware. The Spectre was originally released in 2010 as part of the N-Strike series, and then re-released in 2013 as part of the N-Strike Elite series. It is also a reverse plunger blaster, and came with a folding stock and a barrel extension that looks like a suppressor. The stock is not particularly popular because it's very wobbly. The barrel, however, is very popular, and I actually use one on my modded Rapid Strike. Which I will eventually showcase to all of you. Like the Maverick, it features the pop-out cylinder, but it does have one fewer barrel. However, it solved one of the problems that the Maverick had, which was its tendency to jam because the cylinder rotated when you pulled the trigger. The Spectre, the cylinder rotates when you prime the blaster, which made it much more reliable. But what we really want to know is, can it take a K26? Let's find out. Well, that is a no for the K26. The back end of the spring housing right here is too small for the K26 to fit in, and if you removed it, then there's going to be nothing holding it in place, and it's not going to prime properly. I have, however, found a heavier spring from the original, and so I'm putting that in here. Okay, well, similar to the Maverick, the stock draw weight is about 4.5 kilograms, and this spring has it up to about 7, so a decent increase. It definitely sounds like it would be hitting a lot harder. Obviously, if you wanted to go for the full mod, you would brass the cylinder and remove the air restrictors from the cylinders. I will put this one up on my Etsy page as well, and if you would like those additional upgrades, let me know, and I'll let you know how much more there'll be. It's obviously going to be more to brass 5 barrels than 1, but not a whole lot. Plus, the spring isn't K26, so it's also not nearly as expensive. So, there you have it. Another no for the K26, but yes to a spring upgrade. Let's bring out our next contestant. Our next contestant is one that many of you have been waiting for. It is the most commonly requested blaster so far, the Nerf Strong Arm. The Strong Arm was originally released in 2013 as part of the N-Strike Elite series. It features a direct plunger, was, I believe, the first revolver to have slam fire, and the cylinder rotates after the blaster is fired, making it more reliable than the Maverick, possibly less reliable than the Spectre, but definitely more complicated. So we are going to see if that complicated mechanism can in fact handle the K26. Alright, so taking a look at the internals, it is considerably more complicated than the other ones. I've never actually opened a strong arm. I have opened up the Rebel Guardian, which is more or less the same thing, except that it is front primed. But it's the same slam fire and rotating mechanism. I've removed the stock spring, and I am adding the K26, which does appear to... Oh, it doesn't quite fit, which is going to be a problem. Alright, just a touch of dremeling later. Oh, God, I'm covered in dust. Just a touch of dremeling later, and we've managed to get the K26 to seat properly. I am, of course, extremely dubious as to whether or not this will actually work, but we're going to shove it back in there, and we are going to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, I will admit to being surprised. The strong arm can take the K26. The mechanism is in fact strong enough, which surprised me. I did have to reinforce the catch spring, but not only can it take the K26, it can take it and still slam fire. So these will definitely be going on my Etsy page. Personally, I think this may well reopen the debate on the strong arm versus the hammer shot, though we won't know for sure until I have tested the hammer shot. But there you have it. Let's bring out our next contestant. Our final contestant for the first episode of the second season of Can It Take a K26? The Cyclone Shock. The Cyclone Shock was originally released in 2015 as part of the N-Strike Elite Mega Series. It has a direct plunger and does, of course, as many blasters do, have a little bit of tack rail. But let us see if this beefy thing can take a K26. Alright, we've got it open. And unlike an inordinate number of Nerf blasters these days, the plunger head is screwed on, so you can easily get it off, which is awful nice. But can we fit a K26? question is, of course, whether or not it'll be able to get enough compression. And we definitely need to beef up the catch spring. Got the catch mechanism reinforced about as much as I think I can possibly manage. Now the question is whether or not we can get enough compression on this spring. Ladies and gentlemen, whew, we have another winner. The Big Shot can, in fact, take a K26 if you reinforce the catch spring a whole bunch. I ended up putting 3 springs all coiled up together with... Yeah, I finally was able to get it to catch. It's a slightly shorter than stock, but because the slide has its own return spring, it's not nearly as big of a problem as it would be normally. I have also, of course, taken out the air restrictor and the dart pegs, which means that it can fire rival rounds as well as mega rounds, which is always fun. So this will be another one that will be made available on my Etsy page for K26 upgrades. So, let's recap. Alright, for those of you keeping score at home, that was a no for the Maverick Red Six, but a yes to the spring upgrade. A no to the Spectre Rev Five, but a yes to the spring upgrade. A yes for the Nerf Strong Arm. And a yes for the Cyclone Shock. As stated, all of these will be made available on my Etsy page. They will be listed without brassed cylinders. If you want to have the cylinder brassed, contact me and we can discuss the additional cost for brassed cylinders. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, have things that you would like to see in future episodes, please feel free to mention them in the comments below. Future episodes will be released every Wednesday, though I won't promise what time on Wednesday. And as always, thank you for watching.